now the backbone of it, and it should be a partnership.
Thank you. I want to talk, Dr. Hahn, a little bit about Operation Warp Speed. Really sounds like an exciting effort. It's a great project. The United States is the global leader in vaccine development. But I have to tell you, because we are working at warp speed, and your companies that you're working with, and all of the government agencies, NIH, everyone is working at warp speed. There's many who have concerns about vaccine safety and efficacy, and that when we get to that point, which hopefully is at the end of this year or early next year, where one of these products breaks through and gets there, what do you want to tell the American people and the world in many ways about the safety and the efficacy and the steps that we're taking to make sure that when that vaccine does break through, that it will be safe for everyone to use?
Thank you, Congresswoman Brooks. Really appreciate the question. And Dr. Fauci certainly, as a world's expert, can speak to vaccine development. I can tell you from the regulatory perspective of FDA, we have world-leading experts in the assessment of vaccine safety and efficacy. The world looks to FDA, the world looks to the U.S. To actually make those assessments. What I can promise the American people, we will work with companies, we will work with Operation Warp Speed to provide the assistance so the right studies are done with the right information, but we will independently look at those data and we will make a decision in the best interest of the American people with respect to safety and efficacy. We will use science and data to do that.
So, Dr. Fauci, maybe I should have started with you before going to the regulatory side. So what would you like to say to the American people?
I think that Dr. Hahn said it very well, but I just want to emphasize, I think there were some good intentions about using the word warp speed, but I myself flinched a little because I know that people might think it's reckless. Of course, it's warp speed. It isn't. There are risks, but the risks are all financial risks. And that's what people need to understand. They're not compromising the safety at all, nor is there compromise of scientific integrity. When you do a vaccine under non-emergent conditions, there are various steps. And because companies make investments in this, what they do is they don't make an investment in this step until they're pretty sure this step works. And then they go to the next step. And one of the most important steps is when you start gearing up to make many, many doses. You're not going to make an investment of $500 million or more to produce doses unless you know it works. So what this particular program says, we're going to assume it's going to work. So we're going to put investment in preparing the sites for a phase 3 even before we knew that the phase 1 was successful. We're going to be making doses even before we know it's effective. So what you're doing is you're cutting down on time, but you're not cutting down on the process of safety and science. So if you lose, the only thing you lose is a lot of money. Now, nobody likes to lose a lot of money, but we feel we'd rather lose a lot of money and gain 4, 5, 6, 7 months than have a result and have to wait 4, 5, 6, 7 months to get the vaccine.
Thank you. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, Mrs. Brooks. And now we go to Mr. Schrader.
And we'll wait for Schrader's questions here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This is where Fauci gets owned, completely owned by Schrader.
But I'm concerned, very concerned, that the American people are laboring under some gross misapprehensions as a result of some of the information that's out there. Dr. Fauci, what's the average time to develop a vaccine?
He's not ready for that.
Mike, please.
Deliberately had his mic unmuted.
It depends on the vaccine and the situation in which you're doing it. If you're developing a vaccine in the middle of an outbreak,
I'm just asking, what's the average?
About 7 years.
All right. And what was the fastest we've ever done? What's the quickest the vaccine's been developed?
Quickest vaccine.
To date.
Zika didn't even make market.
The Zika vaccine, which we developed, was about 1.5 years, but it was never brought to full fruition because Zika kind of disappeared.
So,
funny about that.
And say there is a vaccine, what's the probability that a vaccine comes to market, actually?
Oh, if it's successful, it's a high probability.
No, I'm just saying, all these vaccines we got out there being developed, what's the probability they're going to make market entry?
There are more failures than there are successes.
It's about 6%.
There are more failures than there are successes.
What's the chance that even with a vaccine, this virus will be eradicated
And I'd look to flu for a little bit of an example, influenza. How effective is that vaccine?
The influenza vaccine is variable because the virus changes rapidly.
Much like this virus.
Because you
We
create
don't
them in
know
a
that
lab,
yet.
you
Well, we
prick.
already know it's mutated, right?
Yeah, that doesn't make any difference. All RNA viruses mutate. That doesn't mean they change.
Well, if I was a
For
mother
fuck's sake, really?
or a hardworking American citizen, and I want to, and I'm trying to bank on my family's future, how long do I wait? We're very worried that many Americans are waiting until there is a vaccine, maybe a year and a half at best, out there, and that's going to be the panacea, and they're all going to be okay. I think that's a terrible miscalculation. I'm not blaming anybody here, but it's a terrible miscalculation on the part of many Americans. And I'm going to stay home, not go to work, not send my kid to school, and I'm going to hunker down, and I'm going to be okay. I'll just wait for that vaccine. I think we have to start talking in terms of vaccine as one of many tools in the toolbox so you don't end up in particular problems.